On April 17th, Norwegian politicians are voting about a very important decision in Parliament. They're voting if they're going to abandon the free tuition fee for international students in Norway, and they're voting on a very fundamental human right, which is the right to free education for all. And there are many compelling ethical arguments against the abolition of free education for all, and since Steinar has covered this quite well in previous videos that you can see here, I'm going to focus more on the selfish arguments and the reason why this is concerning from a Norwegian perspective and for the socio-economic situation here in the country. And the first of 5 concerns that I have for this is where the documentation is that this is actually economically clever. Of course, this is going to save some money in the short term. However, the long-term consequences are not thoroughly documented and could be very severe. When you charge quite a lot of money for education, this means that education is no longer accessible to all. Only those who can pay high tuition fees or the lucky few who get a scholarship. This means we're ending up with an education system only for the elite, and we're missing a lot of different perspectives and some of the best and cleverest heads. From founding and leading an organization that runs Norway's largest mentor program, I've been in touch with lots of foreign students, lots of top leaders of huge Norwegian companies and organizations, and from these dialogues, from measuring social effect within the organization, I know that just the value of getting someone from a different culture with different perspectives and with a very specific skill set that you need for an employer is immense. And this is also documented in several reports from, for example, McKinsey. I'm putting a link to this down below. And what is concerning is that the economic consequences of losing this group, losing these perspectives is not really documented. And the Norwegian Parliament, they had this open process where people could come with feedback or opinions on the proposal of implementing tuition fees. And through this open hearing, the proposal received so much criticism from relevant huge institutions, and one of them being the universities themselves, which is quite a strong indicator that this is really not as easy as a simple way of saving money on the budget, but this is more complex, and we need what we always do when making big decisions in Norway. We need a very thorough process where we really map out the consequences. This leads me to the second point, which is the competitiveness also of Norwegian universities. Because Norway's highest ranked university is the University of Oslo, UiO, at rank 101 in the world. And although this is a high rank, it also means that there are a lot of higher ranked universities. However, if you look at how the University of Oslo is ranked among the world's best free universities, it ranks 3, just behind the Technical University of Munich and the University of Buenos Aires. And this is on the QS World University Rankings of 2023. And although rank 101 is not a bad ranking, it's quite different from being ranked number 3. And this has serious implications for the competitiveness of the Norwegian universities. Because if you have to pay either way, of course you're going to go usually for the highest ranking university. So this means that Norwegian universities are losing 2 groups of students. They're losing a group of really skilled students who are not able to pay or to study in Norway when the tuition fees are implemented. And we're also losing the second group of students who can afford to pay tuition fees, but if they have to pay either way, of course they will pay at the highest ranked university they can get into, which then often will not be the Norwegian universities. And as we spoke about in the previous point, this is not going to only affect the competitiveness and the academic level of Norwegian universities, it's also going to seep into Norwegian society, Norwegian employers, because many of the students, they do take this skill back to Norwegian companies, or they take it back to their home countries, what they learn at the university. The third point, or the third question, is if we're no longer going to fight for the right of free quality education for all. And this is something I think is very near to the heart to many Norwegians, because we are very proud that there are no discussions anymore that education is supposed to be free for everyone. This is a given, and we criticize the US, for example, a lot for this, because here we criticize the privatized system where education is highly inaccessible to a huge proportion of the population, and we say that this is never how we're going to do it here. And although the proposal now is not to limit the access to free education for nationals, I think it's quite concerning that if we do agree that accessible education is a cornerstone for creating a democratic, stable and competent society on a national level, why would this be different on an international level? And if we agree that it is important to use education as a tool of creating stability within the country, why are we not using this tool also at an international level? And the world is equally globalized, and that means that even here all the way up in the north, we are quite impacted by what happens in the world, which means that contributing to a stable world is also very much within our own interest. And this is often countered with the argument that why should we in Norway use money on this when no one else does it, or few other countries does this? And then this argument could also be turned on the head, and we could ask, if not us, if not Norway, one of the richest countries in the world, are going to walk in the front line for free accessible education, then who is going to do this? And if we're not going to do it now, then when are we going to do this? The fourth point, or rather the fourth, let's say, a compromise, is if it really is necessary to implement tuition fees for the budget to work out, then why don't we make a compromise? Why don't we make this as a bilateral agreement where we can continue to promote and to fight for the right to free education and simultaneously do implement some tuition fees? And the way of doing this will of course be to have bilateral agreements, whereas for students from countries where Norwegians can study for free, we also provide free education for this group, whereas from countries where Norwegians have to pay for education, such as the US, such as England, these students also have to pay for education in Norway. And the effect this would have is that we would continue to put maybe an even stronger incentives on other countries to make the education free, because that would trigger the possibility of their students receiving free education in other countries as well. And it would kind of kill this argument that, but why should we pay for free education for other students? Well, then the answer to that would be because they also pay for free education for us. A last point, or a last question, is why has this process not been more predictable? Why has it not been more professional? This process has been rushed through. It's going to be implemented already from the fall, which gives neither the universities nor the students any time to prepare themselves. And we are in a very curious situation where the universities now are asking possible students for proof that they can pay a tuition fee that we don't know yet if whether it's going to be implemented or not. So we have the very strange situation where we might have a student who are not able to pay for a university in Norway, but if the vote is negative the 17th of April, that student would still have the right or be able to study in Norway. However, due to the way the process is made, that right is not there in practice now, because the universities, out of fear of this being implemented, is not letting in anyone who don't have sufficient funds to pay for studies. And the alternative to this would of course be to have this process, take a thorough process, document everything, and then say that, okay, from next year, from 2024, 2025, we're implementing this, to give the universities time to organize and to give the students at least the predictability. And so that, because every student starting studies this year, a whole generation or a whole year of students now are robbed of this possibility of studying in Norway, perhaps without any reason. So those are the 5 arguments. This is very concerning. It is a huge step in a very dangerous direction, and as we've seen so many times before, we are not given rights for free. We have to fight and fight and fight to get them, which means that is a dangerous step. It's going to take a lot of work to come back from that one. So it's a very dangerous thing to do without a proper process, without thoroughly checking not just the ethical but also the selfish economical arguments, how this could harm Norwegian economy in the long run. And it's just 1 week left. I think it's still important to raise our voices and to speak with politicians, but also to look at this at a higher level. This is not just about being able to study in Norway or not, or Norwegian budgets. This is about something much more fundamental, which is the right to education. And you can fight for this both by getting involved in the case in Norway right now, but also by fighting for free education in your countries, because this is one of the arguments why Norway is doing this, is because they're saying that everyone else has privatized or they don't give education for free for internationals, sometimes not even for nationals. And we really look to other countries when making decisions. Everyone does that. So if we want to give everyone free education and the stability, the democratic values, the competence at an international level that free education does provide, then we need to fight for free education in every country and in every case. And even if the result of the voting on April 17th is negative, even if we do implement tuition fees and we abolish free education for all, this is not irreversible. Laws are continuously changing in according with the needs and pressures from society. So it means that it does help to fight, and we will continue fighting for this and many other important issues. So please do the same wherever you are, and please follow us here, subscribe, and join the debate for other videos on this, on other important topics. And yeah, lots of luck. Bye bye.